Welcome to the Sheffield Sunday As We All Sees It's meeting. This is a main share meeting, and today it is with great pleasure and much gratitude that we welcome Afsi from Toronto, who's come to share for about 40 minutes, after which we'll open up for general sharing or if you'd like to ask a question. Thank you so much, Afsi. It's wonderful to have you here, and the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Afsi, and I'm a recovered grateful alcoholic from Toronto. Good afternoon to all of you, and it's morning time for me. It's 8 o'clock my time in the morning, and I gotta tell you, it's nice to wake up in the morning and be sober. I remember so many years where Sundays were dreadful, and I probably would still be up from the night before and be close to suicidal right about now. So it's wonderful to wake up and to make breakfast for my kids and run around and be able to be useful, and have the pleasure and opportunity to be here with you this morning. This is the second time I'm sharing at this meeting. Thank you again for asking me to come. It's always a pleasure to do God's work and to be of service. So I'm very grateful to be here. And whenever I start speaking, I always start off by saying I'm grateful. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic, and I truly mean that from the depth of my heart. And this reading in God's hands, it just basically says it all for me. It's when we look back, we realize that the things that came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything that we could have planned. Because if I backtrack 14 years ago, I'm going to be coming up to 15 years sobriety this summer. And if I go back and there's no way that I could have imagined that my life would have turned out this way, that I would have the life that I have today, and I would see the world through these eyes. When I came into these rooms, there's no way I would have believed it. And I did that by when I came in, I put myself in God's hands, and my life is absolutely it's a dream. I'm not saying that bad things don't happen and life doesn't circumstances. I mean, of course it does, but the life that I have today is because of that God really removed me from the depths of insanity and depression, and where I was a very dark place in 2006 when I came into these rooms. I had been out there drinking for 20 years, and I was pummeled by the time I got into these rooms. I had nothing left in my life. Everything was destroyed, and I was a dead soul inside me. All relationships, there was nothing left in my life. I was completely broke. I had no relationships in my life, and I was just a walking zombie when I finally found myself in these rooms. Alcohol found me at the age of probably 20. No, I started in high school, and later, my early 20s, I started bartending, and I got really warmed up with it. And I had a lot of fun with it for many years. It is a very progressive disease, and it took a long time to progress for me, but it is very progressive. Other things were introduced to me as well as alcohol, which helped me drink even more. But alcohol was always escalating, and it was always my solution, and it became like a daily thing for me. And it was my medicine for very many years. It was what kept me okay, and it was what kept me functioning, and it's what kept what's that real spiritual malady and that emptiness that I feel as an alcoholic. It filled that for me. I didn't know that for a very long time. I didn't know that until I finally came in and I sobered up and I understood what alcoholism was. But it was my cure. It was what made everything okay. And, I chased that for many, many years, like I said, for about 20 years. And that feeling. And it's what happened is that it stopped working for me. As I'm sure it did for many of us who end up in these rooms. We don't just end up in Alcoholics Anonymous because we're having a great day. It stopped working. things started to go bad in my life, and my life started to become smaller and smaller and smaller, which is what happens. And I tried many things on my own to try to stop and control, and nothing worked. I tried for many years. Alcoholism, it doesn't stop until it beats us up so bad, until it splits us up in so many pieces that we smack our heads on the wall until we've just reached a really bad bottom. And I reached a few of those, and while I was drinking. So I remember the first one that I reached, I had been binging and going at it for about 4 days, and I just was out of everything. It was like a long weekend, and it was a Monday, and the sun was coming out, and it was like, I don't know what I was out of everything. I was out of my drinks and my cigarettes and everything else, and I was tippy-toeing around my apartment, and I just wanted to kill myself, and I was shaking. And I couldn't even look in the mirror. I couldn't look at myself, and I hated myself, and I just wanted to die. I just really wanted to take my life. And I remember falling to my knees that day and praying for the first time from the depth of my soul. And I know God was listening. God is always listening, actually. There's always just so much layers of stuff between me and God. But in that moment, I know something magical happened, because I knew that if I kept on like this, I was going to die. And I prayed and I said, please help me. I can't do this on my own. I need help. I knew that I had to be just removed from it, locked behind closed doors, because I had no control of it. And I went into an AA meeting a week after that prayer. And it was actually a friend of mine that I had been drinking with who had told me about AA. And that was back in 2006. And I walked into that AA meeting, and I literally could not pick up my head, because I was so full of shame and remorse, and I hated myself, and I had no self-confidence, and I walked in with my head down, and they welcomed me, and everybody was so happy and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I had no idea why they were so excited about life. And I went in there, and they told me what to do. I took a seat, and I shut my mouth, and I opened my ears, and I listened, and they told me to pray. And I said, what? These people are telling me to pray. If you just get on your knees and pray in the morning and ask God to help you to stay sober. I hadn't been sober in 20 years. You're telling me to to get on my knees, and I'm going to stay sober? But you know what? I had exhausted all my resources, so I did what they told me. And I got up on my knees in the morning, and I said, please help to keep me sober just for today. And guess what? It worked. Those were God's first miracles in my life. And at night, I would just say, thank you for keeping me sober. And I kept going to the meetings, and I got a sponsor, and I started to do the work, and my life started to transform. It was incredible. What happened is that, like, this cloud lifted, and I had the pink cloud in the beginning, and then I started to do the work, and it was just an incredible, like, transformation that I had. I had about 9-10 months sober, and my life was getting really nice and juicy, and I was feeling healthy. I had made amends. I had started a business. I got a condo and a car. External things were flowing in, and it was just like, woo, I got this thing. And so I started to take my foot off the gas, because I felt like I'm a businesswoman now, and I'm too busy to go to meetings and be with my sponsor and to sponsees and all this kind of stuff. So I took my foot off the gas. I also started dating someone that wasn't in the program, who would drink huge glasses of wine in front of me, and I didn't tell him, and I was an alcoholic. And at first I was okay with it, but after a while I was breaking a sweat, and my head was talking to me, and I didn't even know that it was happening. And I ended up drinking. And after all that I had gone through, I had a glass of wine at a party, and I put it down. I had 2 sips, just like that, because I convinced myself that that was going to be okay. And I didn't tell anyone. And that was the beginning of another 5 year of in and out of the programs, even in and out of the rooms. And it was torture. You know what? I was coming into the rooms, and I was lying to everyone. I was saying I was sober, and I was drinking the night before, and it was pure hell. And I kept these external things. Some people, when they relapse, they end up on a park bench right away, but not for me. It was all internal. And I would, like, go to work and lay on my floor, on my office floor, wanting to die. because I hadn't slept in 2 days, and I'm trying to pretend like I'm functioning, and I'm just a liar. And I even picked up a medallion. I stood up at the podium saying thank you for my sobriety. And I had been drunk the night before, because that's the extent of how I can lie and how I can be. So this continued on for another 5 years until I was beaten so much that I crawled back into the rooms. I remember I was on the phone with my today's sponsor, and I was saying to her, I'm never going to get this. I'm useless. I'm never going to get it. She was like, no, you are. The penny will drop. You will get it. And I had reached a point, my friends, that day that I was just done. I was just done. I was just not wanting to be here anymore. I felt completely useless, and I just didn't want to be on this planet. And I went into a meeting that day, and I remember there was an elderly lady sitting outside, and she saw the pain in my face, and she said to me, you need to take God's hands. God is gracing you. Take God's hands. And I had that day what is such a beautiful gift for us alcoholics, and that is the gift of desperation. I had that day. I had that pain. I had that I'm out of my own resources. And I walked into that room, and I picked up my chip, and that was the last time that I've touched alcohol in coming up to 15 years. But for the grace of God. But that is when I put my life in God's hands. And how did I do that? By continuous action. I put myself in God's hands by walking into that meeting, picking up that chip and diving in and doing work, joining a group, going to meetings, getting a sponsor immediately, being of service, and doing the work, doing the steps. So when I say that God has always been in my life, and God is in everyone's life, but there's a layer, there's like a brick wall that is created, that is made up of resentments and fears, character defects, and all this stuff was like, that's what's blocking me from God. And as I started to do the steps, I started to break that wall down ever so gradually and allowing God's light to shine through. It was a beautiful thing when I start to put pen to paper and to see, look at all my fears and all my resentments. Imagine like a walking crazy alcoholic, self-centered to the max, for 20 years, trampling on everyone, resentful, full of fear of everything, so fearful constantly that my stomach is turning, and I'm just a walking ball of fear, afraid of everything and everyone. And all of that comes down on paper, and I get to go to my sponsor and talk about them and look at my character defects and where I have gone wrong, what I can do different, and where, being able to go out into the world and make amends to the people that I've harmed. And every time I make an amends, it's like winning a piece of my soul back, right? It's like, wow, being able to pick my head up in life ever so slightly and continuing to do those steps. Steps 10, 11, and 12 are the continuous daily work, setting things right, because this alcoholic, I'm still the same alcoholic as I was 15 years ago if I don't continue to make amends, if I don't see where I've gone wrong, because they don't go away. I have a daily reprieve. I need to continue breaking that wall down on a daily basis, or else I'm like, okay, I'm not running to the bottle right away, but I'm full of, I get anxious, I get controlling. My character defects are like that. So when I'm not praying, and when I'm not doing the things, when I'm not cleaning house, when I'm yelling at someone and I'm not going to go make amends to them, I can't breathe, and I get angry and frustrated, and it comes out into my family, it comes out into my business, and I'm just not a happy camper. And it's not a very good way to be on a daily basis. It's not a very peaceful way to be. So if I don't continue doing those 10, 11, and 12, prayer and meditation, it's like the first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning, because I have a very busy life and it's very loud and things happen very early in the morning. And I got to roll on my knees and hand it over. And I say, God, whatever words come out of me that day, whether it's the 7-step prayer, or whether it's the 3rd step prayer, or whether it's just, God, please fill me with your loving being so that it flows through me and into the lives of others. What is your plan for me today? Show me the way, God. Tell me how I can be of service. Whether it's on my bed or whether it's open arms, God doesn't make too hard of turns. And sometimes I do it if I'm really exhausted, I'm laying in bed, I'll just do it while I'm laying down, and I start by prayer. Praying is me asking God. And then trying to sit in meditation. So I have a little office in my house right now. I've built a little sanctuary on the floor, and I have my burning things, and I have my candles, and it's my little sanctuary area that I like to just sit in. And I have like a little waterfall thing in the background that makes the sound of water, or I listen to guided meditation. If it's loud in the background, I put something in my ears so I can zone out. And to me, it's meditation is me listening to God's voice. Because if I'm going to pray, I have to hear God talking to me. And my head as an alcoholic, I don't know about you guys, but it's full of noise up here. And God has no way of coming through with all this noise. So I have to try to quiet it down. Even if it's for 2 minutes or for 30 seconds or whatever, I can make it work. But the more I do that, the more I hear God's voice. I hear God's voice in my peace, in my intuition. God talks to me through people, gives me messages. And it's like I take God's hands and he takes me through this beautiful life that I have. Because when I don't have that, I'm miserable and I don't know where I'm going. So I have this big life that I have now with the business and the kids and the home, and I'm taking care of my mom. And can I be very honest with you guys? Like, I started to a little bit step away from the program a few months ago. And not that I went and I drank, but I just kind of I slowed down on going to my meetings. I don't know what happened. It's not like anything drastic happened, but just I felt myself going to meetings and a little bit disconnected. I was on Zoom meetings and I wasn't as connected. I was busy doing a little bit of work on the side. And I'm just here to tell on myself, because I did take my foot off the gas. And I'm busy with my kids. I'm like 53 years old and I have an 11-month-old. Can you imagine? A 17-month-old child. I have a 10-year-old child. My life is full. I have a company that I run. I have all these things that I'm doing, and it's all because of this program, and it's all because of God. All of these things that I've co-created and manifested with God in my life that are beautiful. Are you kidding me? I just said I'm 53. I had a baby at 52. And that was like this burning desire that I had. My husband was like, are you crazy? You're going to be like a grandma. And I said, I'm sorry, but I feel moved to do this. And God has put that desire in me. So we're going to keep going for 4 years until I got pregnant. And now I have 2 beautiful kids and I love them. And they're like God's grace. It's not easy to get up at like 3 a.m. with a crying baby at 53, but I'm loving it. Everything God has put into my life. But what I'm trying to tell you is, when I stop and I take my foot off the gas and I try to do this life on my own, it's hard. It's so hard, because I start to get crazy and my character defects come and I'm anxious, and it pours out in the areas of my life. Like, I go into my work and I'm yelling at my executive assistant, and I'm like maybe yelling at my 10-year-old, and things are coming out, right? When I'm not in fit spiritual condition, I can't do it, and I'm miserable and I'm tired. Like, that's how it comes out for me. So a couple of months ago, I poured my heart out to my sponsor and I said, I'm not doing well. She's like, what's going on? Let's get to work. And I started to go back into the work with her, go back into my home group and share and be part of, and to do all that. And I'm feeling myself coming back and sit in longer meditation with God and to just pray and be honest and do all those things. And I feel like I'm getting strong again. I need that. I need that God in my life to be able to carry me through and to guide me, because I just can't function without it. And you know what? Eventually, if I don't do that, I will drink. I will go back to that. Ever so slowly, I will. You guys, it's, so from that hopeless alcoholic that walked into these rooms full of fear, that couldn't raise up my head up high to look at people's eyes, I walk today as a proud human being. a child of God who's able to be of service to God's kids inside of the rooms and outside of the rooms. I believe in carrying God's message in all aspects of my life, in all areas of my life. And I pray in the morning, and when I get up off my knees, I carry God into all areas of my life, my family, my business, and everything. That's what I call Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's what the program is all about. And today, like before, when the sun would come out and the birds were chirping, I wanted to kill myself and I wanted to shoot those birds because I just couldn't deal with reality. It would be like a Sunday, like right now, and it'd be like, oh my God, what are all these people doing out there? I don't know how to be productive. I don't know how they're living. I don't know what they're smiling about. What are they talking about? What are all these families? How did this happen? Why am I so alone? Now I have it all. I get up and my house is filled with kids and noise, and my mother, who's 85 years old, she's living with me and I help support her. What a gift that is to be able to do that. When I sobered up, my father got sick with cancer and I was of service. I was with my dad for 5 years and I held his hand and we traveled together and I was by his side. He was my assignment at that time. And if I had been drinking, I would have missed all of that. That was God with me. Those are things that are irreplaceable. I was with him until his last breath, and that was because I was sober and with God and strong, not because I was drinking and in oblivion and had my head in the sand. I was a pillar of strength for my brothers and sisters when my father passed. And then God gave my mother to me, and my mother, I hadn't seen her for 13 years because my parents were separated when I was 7 years old. My mother was still in Iran. That's where I'm from. And then my mother's living with me now for the last 10 years, and I'm able to support her financially and to take care of her. She's in really great shape. She's very active, and she doesn't need that much work, but I'm still have the pleasure of having her and my 2 kids and my husband. That's my soulmate. I'm sure you all know Ali. He's spoken probably in your group many times. I met him in the program, and he's my soulmate and my best friend. And we worked this program together. And without this program, we wouldn't have a marriage. We wouldn't have kids. It would have crumbled because you know what? Things happen. We've gone through times of pain and separations, but we use this program. That's a difference in life right now. It's like things still happen. There's still sicknesses. There's still deaths. There's still separations. There's pandemics. There's times my business is not doing well. But the difference is that I don't go and drink now. What do I do? I call my sponsor. I work through those fears. I take this opportunity of time and pain to go to God and to work on myself and to get stronger as a result of it. Because it's only through pain that we see more light. And separations have always been that way. We went through things and we go to our sponsors, we do inventory over inventory, and we become stronger as a result of it. And it says in our book that spiritual principles will solve all my problems. That is true. It's like not I'm not going to have problems, but there's a solution for me now. Today there is a solution. And as long as I continue to walk with God, everything will be okay. I have a business that I started in 2006. I own a recruitment company. We're going to be in business 18 years coming up soon this summer. And I have the opportunity to help people to find jobs. What a blessing, because I get to bring this program into my daily work. So I have employees. Nobody's on the program. Nobody's an alcoholic, but everybody that's on my team is spiritual. We read, Wayne Dyer readings, and I talk to them about Esther and Jerry Hicks, and I talk to my team about manifesting and co-creating with God, and I send vision boards to everyone. I'm sending audios to my team, and everyone's into it. They love it. It's all about energy, and what you put out comes back into your life. I'm a huge believer of walking with God and manifesting with God, and truly believe that we co-create with God, as I have done so with my 2 children and getting pregnant at age 52, and so many beautiful things that I have in my life. And, I believe in giving back in all areas of my life, because that's what it's all about. God gives to me and I have to give back, whether it's with my time or financially or whatever it is. I can tell you that 3 years ago, we funded and built a school for children in Senegal through my business. And I believe that when God gives me a business and I'm able to contribute, that's the kind of thing I need to do. And I'm so proud of that. What else can I tell you? This program is amazing. It's incredible. If you're here today and you're having a tough time, and if you feel like you're struggling, whether you're just new in the program or whether you've been around for many years and you find like it's getting hard, it's just to throw yourself back in, because I've been on both ends of that, right? I've been in early sobriety where I feel like my skin is turned inside out and I just can't. And there's no solution for me. And this is the solution. If you're an alcoholic like me, this is the only solution. And if you have been here for a very long time and things are getting stagnant and painful and relationships are not working, and if you feel like, I don't want to be around, just throw yourself back in. God is there with open arms waiting for you. But it just takes action on our part to make that happen. And I think that's all I got to say today. And it's just such a pleasure to be with you today. I want to end my talk with a little piece of the St. Francis prayer, which I love this prayer and I say it a lot. Sometimes I break it up in pieces and sometimes I say the whole thing, but I feel like it's written by a non-alcoholic, but it's very dear to me. Lord, grant that I may seek to comfort than to be comforted. That I be understood, that to understand and to be understood, and to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. And it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Thank you so much for allowing me to share. Thank you.